teachers thought I was mad because at that time transplantation was on the frontiers of medicine. Initially we used to say, can we do the transplant? Will it be successful? Today we don't talk about can we be successful. Today we talk about success rates. I feel that if you want any program to succeed in this country, you must always go to the youth. They embrace it. Now when you talk about somebody talking about organ donation, that means you're essentially talking about somebody dying. And we don't like to hear that thought. Transplantation should be in every government hospital, in every medical college. It should be as freely and easily available as any other major operation. That the doctor on duty is required by law to ask you to donate organs if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't do it.
The act of replacing affected organs with healthy ones is termed organ transplant, representing a monumental stride in medical progress. India stands at the forefront of this field in Asian subcontinent. The evolution of medical science has significantly transformed the transplantation process, presenting it with a newfound dimension and significance. Hello and welcome to TIP Media's Health Dialogue. I'm Neelam Singh, and today we have with us Dr. Harsha Jauhari, a renowned name in the field of organ transplantation. Dr. Jauhari is Chairman and Senior Consultant, Department of Renal Transplant Surgery at Ganga Ram Hospital, New Delhi. He has been the pioneer in starting successful renal transplant surgery programs at government-registered centers in 3 states. He is advisor organ transplantation to the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, Government of India since 2014, and is involved in developing the National Organ Transplant Program and National Organ and Tissue Transplant Organization. He is also a recipient of Dr. B.C. Roy National Award. Dr. Jauhari is a man of many talents and wears multiple hats in his professional life. Dr. Jauhari, welcome to Health Dialogue.
Thank you very much. Namaskar to all the viewers and to all people who are interested in the field of organ transplantation. Anything we can do to dispel the myths around transplantation and organ donation is always an occasion for us to be proud of, to come forward and speak about it.
Thank you so much. Let's start the discussion with a very basic question. What motivated you to pursue a career in organ transplantation?
Good question. My teachers thought I was mad because at that time transplantation was on the frontiers of medicine and it was considered far too experimental for people to actually take it up as a career. But I found it fascinating. And one more personal reason, my own mother developed kidney failure and there was really no treatment around at that time. So I thought I must do something to at least pay my debt to my mother and to others who are suffering from the same problem.
Okay, and this was in a year?
Mid-80s.
And how has been the journey since then?
Tumultuous, ups and downs. But ultimately, we have achieved far more and we can be proud of what we have achieved than what we had expected when we started. Initially, we used to say, can we do the transplant? Will it be successful? Today, we don't talk about can we be successful. Today, we talk about success rates in the high 90s, 98%, 99%. And we say, why can't we do more? Why can't we take more donations from people living and cadaver? So, the whole focus has shifted now. What the government can do, what people can do, what society can do to get involved in transplantation. So it's a very exciting time for people to be in transplantation.
Okay, so after all these changes, what do you think? What is the current state of health scenario in India?
See, if we look across the board, we have got at any given time almost estimates, nobody knows the real figures, about 400,000 people in the country every year having various kinds of organ failure, heart, lung, liver, kidneys, other intestines, and we're able to transplant only a few thousands. So the rest of them eventually die. So in my entire life, I've been able to do little over 6,000 transplants. What have I done? In that period, millions have died. It's a drop in the ocean. So there's so much more to be done. And I would like it to be done that transplantation should be in every government hospital, in every medical college. It should be as freely and easily available as any other major operation, hip replacement, bypass. Why you should not have it in every hospital? It should not be an elitist treatment.
Okay. Though the medical science behind organ transplant procedure, be it heart, liver, or kidney, I remember an old study suggests that 1 out of 10 lakh people who die in India donates an organ. So every year, millions of people die waiting for an organ. So what do you think? Where are we going wrong? What is going wrong in this?
There are multiple reasons, but the main reason is misinformation among the public. And we over centuries have been used that to understand that a person has died when his heart and his lungs fail, cardiorespiratory failure. So the concept of brainstem death, that the brain has stopped functioning and inevitably the person is going to stop breathing without any ventilatory support, that the person is dead. And we are trying to make people understand that it is not easy, even worldwide. It is something that people resist, because you see the patient and you say the patient's heart is beating and he's having breathing, but that's because of the ventilator. And they don't understand that if you stop that within a short time, everything will come to a halt. So that as a concept, it requires a lot of public education and then organization. Smaller countries with better education and public literacy, they have taken to it better. In our country, we have a tradition of donation. People, if you ask them nicely, people do understand. So the very rich and the not so well off, they are the ones who come forward. The middle class, who are the very intelligent, they always ask questions, and it's very difficult to convince them, because there's always a counter question. So, but people are coming around. They are understanding that, somebody who's brainstem death, cadaver donation, is where we'll get the organs, by which at least the living donation will reduce, and we'll be able to get far more organs for transplantation, especially the ones which are heart, lung, which you can't take from living people. Yeah, intestines. So basically we are talking liver and kidneys, which we can take from living donors. The rest of them have to come from cadaver.
Okay. The concept of organ donation is not new. So what is stopping us from having a large scale educational campaigns to change the mindset of the population?
See, the government has been doing, and various NGOs have been doing over the past many decades. For example, we started with eye donation.
Yes.
So when you started with eye donation, you went right down to schools, you went to colleges, and across the, Netradan. Then 70s se leke up till now, you have started doing Raktdan, Mahadan, right? So it was
in COVID also we have started these kind of.
So in the 20s, we started with the Angdan, Jivandan, right? We have to do it, and it has to go percolating down to the youth. I personally believe that talking to the elderly or the middle-aged people is a waste of time. I feel that if you want any program to succeed in this country, you must always go to the youth. They embrace it, isn't it? If you want it to work, they will embrace it, because they understand and they are open to new ideas. And for example, you say no to plastic, say no to crackers, say no. No, that kind of slogan appeals to people, younger children. And people have been doing it. Governments are now going into the school level, bringing it there. People go and give lectures, people talk about it. And we would definitely like to do more. There are jingles on the radio, you have these programs every year, you are having programs where you have National Organ Donation Day, you get honoring the donors. Recently, the state government of Tamil Nadu came along and said, we will honor all all organ donors, give them a state funeral if they were, things like that coming forward. And we have been recommending far more, that every driving license should have your wish, whether you want to be an organ donor or not. So it is a very wide, you can't make a very sweeping statement, but you have to sort of keep plugging away everywhere, and making sure as wide as possible. In MBBS, for example, or all medical things, we are bringing in chapters so that right from the beginning, you begin to understand what transplantation is all about. In school also, you're trying to bring in chapters, NCERT, we have spoken to that, bring in these chapters. So there's a lot of work going on in this, and it is bearing fruit. There's no question about it. Earlier, when you ask people about organ donation, they look blank or they look furious. Now people are quite understanding, because you know virtually every family person knows somebody who's got some degree of organ failure, and you know that there's a need. Now whether you come forward or not is a separate question, but nowadays people are aware that there's something called organ donation and transplantation.
Out of curiosity, I want to ask one question. When there is a shortage of organs, how does medical advancement helps the patient to to survive?
Okay, there are some organs where you have no option. You have transplantation or death. For example, if you've got a very chronic cardiomegaly, something where the heart is just not, you can give some temporary support. Liver, you can give a very temporary support. But kidney, you can at least give dialysis.
Okay.
Now, dialysis is not ideal, but it is a way of keeping alive while you're waiting for an organ. Now, you've got, for example, intestines, or you've got other organs which require transplantation, but you're not able to do so. So, but these are the life-saving ones: heart, lung, liver, kidney, pancreas to a point. But these four which are life-threatening and life-saving in the transplant, you require organs. You can't make them in factories, not yet.
But as you said that the youth is quite receptive, so there is a difference between the rural youth and the urban youth. So in urban areas, people are really aware. But what about the rural people? Are they aware of these life supporting techniques or other things?
I would say this. I would say that it is definitely better than it was earlier. And when people come from rural areas or tier 2 or 3 cities, they come here, the family is there, they're fully aware of what is happening. In this, social media has been of great help, because they have done their homework before they come to me. They've come to me, "Saab, transplant karana, aapse karana, bataiye kya karna."
Okay.
They've done their homework. So they choose the centers where they feel they'll get good results. They have done the homework regarding the costing, they have done the work regarding the legal requirements of the family, who the donor is going to be. Some of them try to play the system and say, can we have unrelated donors which are a bit dodgy, and then we chase them out. So all that is going on. People are more aware now, I think. It's not much difference between the rural and the urban.
Few days back, I read a study, an article in the paper that says that women donates more organ in comparison to men, and men receives more organ in comparison to women.
You can prove anything you want to, but the point is, India, we do not have social security, and we are not a patriarchal society. But the fact is, one person earns, and 10 people or 20 people are dependent on that person. So that is a reality. And it was the man largely who was the breadwinner. And that is why the entire family rallied around trying to give him the organ, so that at least if he survives, the family will be able to pull through. Now women are also becoming breadwinners. They're also getting the organs. And earlier, yes, the mother, the sister, the daughter, the wife, they were coming forward, and not all of it is coercion. Let's not demean that emotion of generosity and nobility by just saying everything is coercion. No, it is commercial. It is not. They feel very genuinely. And women have come forward. Earlier, the men, the breadwinner, whenever people used to come forward and say, "Ki hum denge," then the people said, "No, you will not give." Because he's the breadwinner. So you try to protect him. Similarly, a son having a kidney failure is a disaster. But if a son-in-law gets it, it's a bigger disaster. Because if he gets a problem, what's going to happen to your daughter? She's going to come back with the kids. So, the women do come forward. And yes, earlier it was, but it was never that the women were more than the men in donation. The percentage was high. Now it has changed. I mean, my first couple of thousand transplants, I think, About 300, 400, 500 wives were giving to the husbands. Only about 2 husbands gave to the wives. Disgraceful. Now, more and more husbands are coming forward to give to the wives. Maybe not as much as we would like, but I've got mother-in-law giving to the daughter-in-law. I've got father-in-law giving to the daughter-in-law. I've got Muslim husbands giving to their wives. See, with all the conservative thought, they are still coming forward against their family opinion. So things are changing. People are, because they don't, earlier that fear was there, what's going to happen if both of us pop it.
Yeah.
Now you realize that the results are not so bad as you thought it was. People do survive and they do well. So people come forward, take it in their stride. And men were protected from donation as far as possible, but not always. I mean, now things are changing. I would like to have more men coming forward, but again,
Considering the conservative thoughts, conservative
Yeah.
society, this is really a positive change.
there's no doubt to change. I mean, it is significant. It is not a huge change, but it's definitely there. Definitely there.
So the organ donation rate in Spain has seen an increase due to strong infrastructure, education, and government support. So what do you think are the 3 key changes we need to have in our society supported by the government?
Right. Everybody keeps talking about Spain, and even the Spanish, I think, are a bit sick of it now. Right? But I was there along with the ministry people, senior people, and we had gone to study how the system works.
Okay.
And they told us that you are spending a lot of money and effort in public education. We did that a few years ago, and we found that you don't need to spend that much, but you need to spend more on organization.
Okay.
All right? Basically, what they were saying is, before we started and we had a referendum, about 50 to 51% said, I'll happily give. After we started all this, we still have the referendum, they will still say only about 50% will say we'll give. So it hasn't changed much. Those who are willing to give, they are willing to give. But the organization, once somebody has committed to giving an organization, how do you reach a logical end point of transplantation? That is what everybody is trying to copy. So that is one. Spain is a very small country compared to a country like India. Most countries have a 3-tier medical system. You have the hospital, you have a local authority, and you have a central government. In India, because we are so vast, we have to have at least a 4th-tier. A central law, right, which unfortunately, health being a state subject, is not binding on all states. So each state can make its own. So you have a state, right? So you have a NATO, then you have a region. There's no ROTO or there's no region in the country, in the constitution. We have created one, just trying to make a cluster of states so that we have some sense, right? Take a strong state and supporting a weaker state in terms of transplantation. And then you have a state, and then you have your district level, and then you have your hospitals. So we are talking at least 4 levels of devolution of organization. Not easy, right? Now you've got some of the states which are very, very, shall we say, literacy high. Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, right? You had Maharashtra coming in. Now you've got Gujarat coming in very fast. Now these are the ones which are very high performing. Whereas we have so many countries, states like J&K, Haryana in the beginning, Chhattisgarh, right? Jharkhand, Bihar. Now they were lagging behind because of probably less of acceptance of the concept. But now people are Northeast. Gradually people are now pegging away. So it is happening. People are beginning to understand connectivity, how to share the organs across states. So a lot of things are happening.
Yeah.
Green corridor again. I mean, yesterday you had this case about a doctor, going down the state, and he has been knocked down and then picks up the lung and goes across on flight and still operates. Now these are the kind of heroes. What do you do? I mean, you have to give them recognition. So that is the second part. The third part, obviously, is you said about, one is the organization, one is about the awareness, and the third is when you talk about the government. Now, the role of government in India has still not become clear. They are trying. Should they be the provider of the health care for transplantation, or should they be the payer? Now, you want all the work. Reality is being done in the non-government institutions, right? And the private sector, they have their own compulsions, not necessarily negative, but they have to spend. Somebody has to spend the money. And you want first world treatment, and you want to pay third world rates. It cannot happen. So either you promote the government institutions doing this work, and you pay for it, right? So either you pay for this or you pay for that. You want to bring this down and you can't bring that up. That is where the logjam is. You want the Prime Minister's schemes, the state schemes, all of them coming into the non-government, bringing the prices down. It is not sustainable for a length of time because the cost of the disposables itself, the cost of the nursing, the medical profession, the medicines are so high. See, either it has to be subsidized by the government and done in government institutions, or it has to be done in the non-government where you have to make allowances for that. So whether it's going to be a provider or a payer, that has to be clarified. And I think this is where most of the discussions are going on. Let's hope.
Let's hope for the best.
Yeah.
Talking about the organ donation, especially when a person is dying, is really difficult for a doctor to talk about. I understand that in a country where violence against doctors is an all-time problem, it's really difficult. So how do you suggest to tackle this problem?
Okay. I will take you back to a time you were not born. In the early 50s, mid 50s, I was a child. Life Insurance Corporation had just come in. And the agents used to ring the bell at somebody's house and say, ki, I've come to give you insurance. They said, what are you talking about? He said, if somebody dies in your family and we give you insurance. So the ladies used to pick up the slippers and chase them. That you are and curse them. That you come here talking about death in my family. It took them almost 20 years for people to appreciate that they are actually insulating you against grief. But it took time because people's first reaction was, you are coming here to talk about my husband's death or my father's death. So they'll generally beat him up and run away. Now we are that kind of emotional people, right? And we haven't changed. We are still emotional. Now when you talk about somebody talking about organ donation, that means you're essentially talking about somebody dying. And we don't like to hear that thought. So what doctors are talking about is that as a campaign, we go to various places, they should go home in a non-stress situation. And they say, today some fellow came along and talked about organ donation. Now that's where the youth will come in and say, all right, we are having dinner. Suppose something happens to our family, right? What would you want? So somebody will say, मैं तो अपनी आँखें दूँ, या कोई कहेगा मैं कुछ नहीं दूँ, या कहेगा तुमको जो चाहिए ले लो, या कोई कहेगा मैं लेने के बाद हरिद्वार हमको पहुँचा देना. Whatever it is. Now, at the end of all that, you have got a agreement in the family which says that my father wanted this, or my mother would want this. But normally what is happening in the time of crisis, you are giving your emotions vent. नहीं मैं नहीं करने दूँ. But if somebody reminds you, याद है उस दिन खाना खाया था पिताजी ने ये कहा था, so then you are trying to fulfill their wishes. So this takes time to get all this going. Now the first act which we had made did not talk about it. It took us quite some time to create what is called a required request. Touching on the subject, you have said. It took us quite some time to actually make that phraseology that the doctor on duty is required by law to ask you, to donate organs if you want to. If you don't want to, you don't do it. But don't beat him up. It's not his job. Poor fellow, he's only doing a job. He doesn't want it. So required request. We transferred the actual responsibility to the law, so that the doctor at least feels a little more confident. Otherwise, the moment he says organ donation, people used to be. Yeah. So now he says, look at that written, it's not my, I am asked to do it. If I don't do it, I get beaten up there. So I may as well ask you. So things are happening. These things don't happen overnight.
So at this point of time, I want to know health literacy. How important is health literacy?
Tell me something. In a country where the predominant thought in a family is fear of contagion, we have lived for centuries and millennia in fear of mass contagion. Every single thing in our country is based on trying to prevent contagion or infection, right from the time you are born till the time you die. Yeah? Chhati jo hoti hai, wahan se 13वीं hoti hai, all of it is to prevent contagion. All your food, all your feeding habits, sleeping habits, cooking habits, everything is based on that. So how can we say that just because it is not in English, we are not literate regarding health? We have got a whole lot of literacy of health. Only question is, how do we bring it, this modern concept of organ donation? Yeah? Yeah. We should be proud of our heritage. We have got probably the most, where in the world have you got the concept of jhuta? That this food is jhuta, this pani is jhuta, and nobody takes offense, nobody means, ye jhuta hai, maine piya hai. Right? So how can you say you don't have health literacy? You have got health literacy. Only thing is, we have got to insert this modern concept, and we have to do it in a way which is acceptable to people. So I think we are not health illiterate. It's only a Western idea which has been thrust upon us, just because we don't use fancy words. Yeah? Where in India do you have food which is steamed or raw? Everything is fried till everything is finished in it. You'll have everything but no infection. Yeah. Yeah? So this is the kind of life we are leading. We're all literate. Haath dho ke khana khao, haath dho ke. What more do you require? Theoretical, practical, everything is there. So I think we are underselling our own competence. We have got health literacy. Some of them may be requiring modernization, some of it may be requiring updation, but that's part of it. That's part of history. That's the way it is. And transplantation is something which we have to bring in. It will come in. I don't think there's any big deal about that.
Okay, so apart from all these questions related to organ transplant and other things, what Harsha Jauhari, Dr. Harsha Jauhari, as a doctor, as a person, engage in to maintain his, mental sanity and calm?
Now, you have to maintain your sanity and your calm. You have to compartmentalize your emotions. As a surgeon, if I stick a knife into you, it hurts you, it hurts me as well. But I can't allow it to hurt me. I have to be cruel to be kind. Yeah? But yet when I go home...
Very, very positive statement. I have to be cruel to be kind.
Yes. But if it happens to be my own daughter or my own sister, she requires it to be done and there's nobody else, I'll still do it. So, these are emotions which have to be kept under check as a person. And I believe that every morning and every night, look at what you have done the whole day and thank the Lord. He has given you an opportunity to be of meaningful help to people. We should be positive and be happy to. God has been very kind to all of us. Yeah?
To understand that.
Yes. Could we have done better? Sure. Could we have done worse? Definitely. Have we done what we have done honestly, to the best of our ability? I think so. So to that extent, I'm a happy soul. And then, as one of your colleagues just mentioned, always have a lady in your family who keeps you down to earth. You don't fly. Keep your feet on the earth.
Otherwise, also, what are your favorite hobbies that keep you engaged apart from this, hospital?
Reading.
Okay.
Reading anything and everything. Voracious reader. also try to write a few
Do you
things.
get enough time to read?
You can always find time to read. You can always find time. 5 minutes here, 10 minutes there, you can always find.
A book reader or a
Books.
mobile
Books.
on
No.
mobile or-
I'm a techno idiot. I don't know how things work. No, read books, and you get far more satisfaction, I feel, by holding a book in your hand than by having a screen. An overview of things you can only get if you look from here. If you look into that, you will not.
Thank you, Dr. Jauhari. Thank you so much for being with us.
and sharing all this wonderful knowledge with us.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, and I'm sure it will make a difference.
Of course, it will. Thank
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you.